Good evening, it's a Thursday and welcome to tonight's episode of News Report. My name is Salifyanji Bweupe. As usual, I am joined by Chimwanga Kalala. Chimwanga, welcome to News Report. And how's your day been?
Okay, I'll speak to answer here, but looking forward to today's show.
Exactly.
Quite busy. It's been a quite busy day in terms of news. Yeah, we have a lot of stories lined up for today's show, and I'm looking forward to the show today.
Right, and the drama continues where we have, the police and the public, and a lot of people actually coming out, and speaking out against, the treatment that police is portraying in the public out there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so that's been a story we've been talking about for like the last couple of days. I think same story, just different context. We've seen the MMD youth planning a protest on the 30th. They say they won't back out this time around. Yeah. Same thing that the UPND and NDC members said as well last time, though they had to back out. So we'll see if that protest will take place on the 30th. But from the looks of things, the police is having...
And does it look like the PF is susceptible to the treatment that or the police brutality that is currently going on? Because it's like they have a leeway to do what they want. They're holding rallies, they're holding meetings, but when it comes to other political parties, it seems to be there seems to be a lot of clashes that are going on, and the excuse is always that the right channel was not followed beforehand, before any meeting was held or any rally took off.
I bet that's for them to answer, honestly speaking. That's quite disturbing things we're seeing recently in the news. So we've seen the PF Chipata Youth Chairman JJ Banda, who's currently in custody, and he's been committed to the High Court as well. Right. So we're yet to see how that plays out as well. So
and that just brings me to another news or other news that is happening related, not really related, but it's got to do with police, and that is what is happening in Nigeria, where there's hashtag SARS, and there's a lot of police brutality going on there, and we had some lives lost as well, and so the whole world is calling on the ending of the special armed robbery squad as well. So we do definitely hope that and some are actually calling for the president to actually stand down or be removed, so that probably this whole fracas will come to an end.
Definitely such state of affairs.
Right.
I think Africa-wide, we've seen in Congo as well. The former leader is from the looks of things, it seems that the former leader will face some sort of judicial review. So the Constitutional Court is supposed to pass a ruling on the former president of Congo, that's Joseph Kabila. Right. Yeah, so I think Africa-wide, I think things are quite bad. I would say worldwide.
Worldwide,
we're seeing a lot.
I think it would be unfair to just say Africa, because the whole world is going through, each and any like issues all over, if I may put it that way. And so in the news tonight, Kambwili's bail application has been thrown out.
All right, so some truck drivers strike can cause further economic decline. CAT has warned.
And if you're watching us right now, you are watching us on your Top Star channel 112, as well as our Facebook page that is Live TV, and our YouTube channel that is Live TV channel. For your comments and contributions, please do come through on 0976 599 547, as well as our Facebook channel as well. And we also have a very interesting interview on the show tonight, and we'll be talking to the executive director for Born Short Living Tour. So we'll have that come on in later. And so we begin with, the magistrate ruling. So that is Magistrate David Simusamba, who has thrown out, the bail application for the NDC president, that is Dr. Chishimba Kambwili. I know, obviously, everyone, or most people, especially those people that belong to NDC and UPND, have really taken this, with mixed feelings as well. But now, to look at it, I think from the magistrate's side of things, obviously the application was done before the sentence and the judgment was passed, and so I do understand why he would choose to take that particular route. I don't know if you have anything to add on to this story.
All right, so I believe it was fair enough from the magistrate to pass that particular ruling.
Right.
When we look at his explanation, we see there were a number of procedural issues in how the whole appeal process was handled. So I believe they still have a chance to appeal, although they have to do it the right way this time. So in passing his ruling, Magistrate Simusamba disclosed that a notice of appeal was filed into the court before judgment and sentence in the case was given, contrary to the demands of Section 321 and 323 of the Criminal Procedure Code, therefore finding it irregular. So yeah, so he just threw it out. He can't have a look at it because right procedure wasn't followed.
And the good part is that there's this, backing that he used to actually, give his sentencing in this particular regard. So he's not just speaking from without. He actually, quoted the law, and that's why he came up with this particular ruling as well. And so further, the magistrate revealed that he was shocked that Kambuli appealed against the acquittal in the court for giving false information to a public officer, adding that he had not seen such a thing in his 13 years of serving at the bench. So yeah,
I believe this is quite peculiar. Like, why would, if you're acquitted, why would you want to appeal? Do you want to be proved guilty or something? I think this whole seems like there were a number of complications during the whole process. I think no wonder we're having such things, because why would somebody want to appeal a judgment that found them innocent? So I believe,
so they should have focused on the judgment that he was sentenced for, and not one that was thrown away. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so quite peculiar thing.
Yeah. Anyway, that's very unfortunate. But as we saw also in the news the other day, Dr. Shimba Kamweli's wife, Carol, and the daughter obviously were not really treated, very well, or handled very well by the police. And many people actually had to come out and speak against what the police had did on that particular day. And so unfortunately, they were arrested. But the wife to Dr. Shimba Kamweli was released, and the daughter was still held in custody and spent about 2 nights in the prison cell as well. Now, I want to get it from you. Probably, as a man, and you see a mother or a wife or a child or a daughter being treated like that, what would be your reaction?
I think that the way the ladies were treated wasn't appropriate. We've seen a lot of organizations jump to the defense of Mr. Kamweli's wife and daughter. We've seen the likes of the NGOCC, the Human Rights Commission, and the Women's Lobby Group as well, condemning the actions from the police. I think people have to be dealt with in a dignified manner. You don't have to disrespect or maybe just go full force on people, even when they're in the wrong. I believe there's a better way to interact with people. I think it goes just to public relations, like how do you interact with these people? Like, what purpose does it serve for you to undress people or maybe just touch them in an indecent manner? So I believe police have some work to do there. And looking at the fact that it was actually male cops doing that, it's quite sad. I believe some female officers were present as well. I believe female officers should have been left to deal with their fellow females. That way, I believe there could be that level of understanding, or maybe just better interaction between them.
And so what we saw was just a video of Carol and the daughter being, lifted and being put. That's Chanda being put in the police vehicle as well. And the story from the police side is that she had slapped a police officer, in which the police officer also, reacted and slapped her back as well. And in this case, even if she was wrong, I think 2 wrongs can never really make her right, and so probably that's why we saw this thing happening as well. Anyway, before we talk more about that, we have a clip. So that's a footage of Chanda Kambidi being released from police cells where she was held at Kabwata police station for 2 days. And so her initial charge of assault was reduced to a less serious offense of conduct likely to cause the breach of peace. And I'm thinking to myself, this term here is used most of the time when the police, actually, arrest you. Sure. Most of the time it would be because of, this offense, which they term as a conduct likely to cause a breach of peace. But she was released after she admitted guilt and paid a fine for the offense.
And the funny thing, I'm led to believe that the fine for admission of guilt when it comes to conduct likely to cause to disrupt peace is 54 kwacha, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah, so which isn't a hefty amount. But I believe, just to bring you back on that video of the claims or allegations of her actually slapping the police officer, I think that's just word of mouth. We haven't seen that video on the like. So I believe we should just stick to what we saw, and which is a video. Just recently we saw some police making comments that you can't judge what transpired or the entire scenario, just what transpired exactly from a 50-second long clip. But I believe we saw what we saw, and that's enough to call for condemnation.
And even when or if there was some legal representation, they will base, I think, the findings according to what has been shown. We have the evidence of the video. We don't have any evidence of the police officer being slapped. So what evidence does the police or the police officer have in this particular regard? And for them to have been held for such a long time, I think, in the cells was just a bit too much. Yeah.
Exactly.
So anyway, on that note, we will go on a break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by our guest, that is Ntalasha Chisha, the Executive Director for Born Short Living Tour. Stay tuned.
That is why you need to get an e-token, sir. It is faster and easier.
The e-tolling card is a National Road Fund agency card. So all you have to do is just credit it in Dalama and you'll be able to use it but to get Monga Panusu. To avoid the inconveniences, so you have to start looking for 20
Introducing the electronic toll card. It's easier, faster, and secure. Access the e-toll cards from all toll gates across the country or the agency's head office in Lusaka at only 30 kwacha.
This message is brought to you by the National Road Fund Agency, a sustainable road fund.
Good evening. If you're just watching us right now, you're catching us on your Top Star channel 112, as well as our Facebook page, that is Live TV, and our YouTube channel, which is Facebook channel as well. So as I said before we went on a break, that we'll be joined by a very special guest, and he is the Executive Director for Born Short Living Tour, and his name is Ntalasha Chisha. Mr. Chisha, welcome to your news report.
Thank you very much, Salifyanji.
How are you enjoying summer?
Well, it's a bit hot though.
Right.
But anyway, what can we do?
Yeah.
So
And usually when it's too hot, we look forward to the rains and say Zesco will not load shed us, yeah?
Yeah. And also hoping that because of summer COVID-19 levels will drastically go down.
Right,
yeah.
right. Exactly. And so if you have any questions or contributions, please come through on 0976 599 547 as well as our Facebook Live page. Okay, so just to get right into it, please tell us about your, briefly tell us about your organization.
Well, Boneshot Living Talk, which is BSLT, is a non-governmental organization. And our aim is to empower the underprivileged people in society. And mainly when we talk about the underprivileged people in society, we are talking about the women, we're talking about the children, also talking about people that are differently abled. Our aim, like I earlier said, apart from just empowering them, is to ensure that we create a society that is non-discriminatory, which we believe is a platform that will give all these vulnerable groups an equal opportunity to thrive in life.
Okay, so in your profile, as I was doing my homework,
Yes.
you did mention that, someone's physical status does not, limit someone's thinking. What did you mean by that?
Basically, what we were talking about is that how somebody looks, or the background of a particular individual, or maybe their status, either being a woman or being a man, should not limit them to excel in life and to excel in society. And we are in a society that is too judgmental in regards of how they view individuals and what individuals are able to contribute in society in terms of the development agenda of any nation, or even the improvement of any society. So as an organization, it has been one of our core duties to ensure that a person is not judged based on how they look. Yeah.
Okay, so now to bring us back to what you said about the underprivileged and also inclusive of women as well, do you stand with other organizations that have condemned, the treatment that was given towards the NDC president's wife? I know I caught you off guard, but I just want to hear your opinion.
Well, that's a very good political question, and I was avoiding to comment on issues that relate to politics. Well, the treatment of any individual, these are issues of, I would say these are issues of human rights. And these are issues of giving an opportunity to an individual to be heard, to be accepted, and to address their views. Well, what happened this week was a sad story, basically from both parts, which was because when we led from the media, there were issues of alterations that had happened, which should be avoided at all costs. This is not about, the way I personally take life is, whatever that you would want to advance, it shouldn't take a fight for you to advance a particular cause or to be aid. There are many channels and many platforms that can be used to address such particular issues. Suffice to say, the rights of women are supposed to be protected, and both the police and citizens must work hard to ensure that such frictions in future are avoided.
Now back to BSLT. What prompted the creation? What prompted the idea to actually create BSLT?
What prompted the idea, like I earlier mentioned, is looking at this society that is too judgmental, and that is not giving an opportunity to a disabled child to excel in life, which is not giving an opportunity to women, not giving an opportunity to youths. So basically, what inspired us, because our organization was incorporated on 5th of September 2016, what inspired us was to see how best we can create a platform for equal opportunities for, regardless of physical status, regardless of background. It's allowing people to have a stake in their nation, a stake in the economy of the nation.
Okay, let's talk about collaboration. Who are your collaborating partners? Institutions, organizations, and the government, or which ministry?
Well, we under our organization is under the Ministry of Community Development and Welfare. We've also been trying so hard to see how best we can work with the Ministry of Youth. But what we've been depending on is the relationship that we have with some few international partners. So basically from inception, what we have been trying to do, what we have been trying to work on is to see how we can create a pool of partners that believe in our ideals, that understand our vision, that believe in our values, that believe in the things that we want to do. So for the past 4 years, we have been working with quite a number of partners who have been helpful to the cause that we've been advancing.
Right, and I had noticed or did notice on your Facebook that you were also, advocating for, when it comes to like education. So you said you don't only want free education, but you want the government to go as far as, offering free, skills training as well. Could you just elaborate on that?
Yes, the thing is, the first thing, even with you, Salifyanji, if I were to ask you to say, how do you feel the disabled would be empowered? This is not just a question to you as an individual, it's a question to government, to institutions that have got an interest in helping people who are living with disabilities. The first thing that comes to their picture is that people with disabilities need donations. Maybe they are given a bit of some meal, some handouts, and if maybe they are running a certain project, they are given resources for that particular project. Sometimes it's not just maybe giving them, maybe they will buy wheelchairs for them. That is all good. But what we've been advocating and saying as an organization is that is not real empowerment. We don't term that as real empowerment, because that is dealing with the symptoms of an issue instead of finding permanent solutions to a problem. Because if you give them handouts, obviously after 2 or 3 months,
and fast money finishes fast.
Yes, they'll come back and ask for those particular handouts. And then which institution, which government will continue giving people with disabilities and minority and vulnerable groups help every time they go to, because they have got budgets. So the rationale behind us advocating for free education is we are looking at free education and skills training as a permanent solution to the issues that are affecting the disabled. Because once they are educated, they have an education, once they have a skill, then somebody will be able now to unleash their potential. They will now be able to participate in issues of public life. They will be able to work for themselves. So you are basically giving the disabled, when you give them free education, you are giving them economical independence. They will depend on no one. They will work for themselves, and they will start businesses that will generate resources for themselves.
Now going back to valid thinking as well. So if I'm getting this right, you correct me. So it's okay to empathize, but when it gets to a point where people feel like they need to sympathize more than create opportunities and help someone or challenge someone to do better, then they're not really actually helping. So education can be given, free handouts can be given, but what happens thereafter? How does one sustain themselves as well and provide for a family?
That's why we are saying that what government must do, what organization like ours must do, is to create a platform for equal opportunities, to create a process. So education is the primary foundation for any process. Anybody that wishes to excel in life, you need someone to go to school and begin to understanding how the economies of the world are moving, for you to express even what God has put in you. There is need for you to be educated. Now, once that primary foundation of education has been put in place, then now we can talk about how do we create sustainable opportunities for people that are living with disabilities. So the beginning factor, Salifyanji, for anyone, it may be somebody who is disabled, somebody who is not disabled. If you need to excel, there is a certain level of education that you need to attain in the things that you are looking for. And then you begin now using what you have learned, the gifts that you have, as a platform for you to excel. So if it goes for somebody who is able, it should go for somebody who is disabled as well. But for somebody who is disabled, these guys already have a physical challenge. If we were to do an education audit, or how many disabled persons we have in Zambia, you would be surprised that the percentage is quite low. And then when we're advocating for opportunities, the first thing that they will say is, well, there are these vacancies that have been created, but you're not qualified for them.
Okay.
You get the point? So the whole idea is, let's take them in school. That's why we've been saying it shouldn't just be free education up to secondary school level. It should go up to tertiary education.
Right.
For those that are elderly, let us give them some skills training.
Yeah.
Let us
Especially
take them
for those
into camps.
vacancies that they open up.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Let us take them into camps.
Right.
When we were growing up, when we were young, especially for our colleagues who are blind, we would hear many times that they work as telephone operators. But things have changed. But why can't deliberate policies be made for them to work as customer care services? They go into customer care maybe for this private or even public, because Zamtel is a public institution or private institution, and then they are given that opportunity. They are able to
how responsive has the Ministry of Local Government been to respond to the needs that you have presented?
Well, we've written to several ministries to see how best they can come in. But, Salifyanji, this is a process.
Sure.
It's a process. There are policies that have to be made, policies that have to be put in place.
Right.
That is why, as an organization, in terms of trying to see how the disabled people can be incorporated in the governance system, we have been advocating for to different political parties to ensure that these political parties more like give some adoption positions, about 25% of the adoption positions for next year's general elections for both local government and parliamentary levels should be given to people who are differently abled. Because then that way, the people that are affected themselves may have a chance to be on the ballot paper, to be voted and to go into parliament. Probably some can even be appointed to go into cabinet where they will be now involved in creating those particular policies that affect them.
Because they relate.
Yes.
Okay. Now, also something interesting that I came across was the aspect of, the differently abled also participating in voter registration as well. Has there been any response in that regard, considering that we're going towards the 2021 general elections?
One of the things that I would like, in relation to the question that I've asked, I would love to mention here is, as an organization, we had commended the Electoral Commission of Zambia for including people with disabilities in terms of asking them to pay what I would call a fair amount in terms of the nominations.
Okay.
So that was a good process that started.
Sure. Okay.
We further on went as an organization to write to the Ministry of Home Affairs now, asking them to see how best people who are living with disabilities can be encouraged. In fact, we said that organizations like ours should be involved in particularly advocating for those people with disabilities who do not have national registration cards. Because for you to participate in politics, in governance, in any election, you need a national registration card. And you discover, earlier when I started, I talked about issues to do with discrimination. I talked about issues to do with segregation. You will find that this is a young disabled person, is 18 years, ready to get an NRSC, but because there is no advocacy, there are no incentives, and even the process is not disability friendly. So as a result, you find that they are locked up in their homes. And then what is happening now in terms of government and organizations? What are we doing to encourage parents of disabled children to register and have national registration cards?
Have you also come up with a framework in which you could help the differently abled people to actually register as voters?
Well, what we've been doing basically all through this year is advocating and ensuring that members that are under our organization ensure that if they have any disabled child at their own places, they take them to register.
Okay. So this is an interview that I'm having with the BSLT Executive Director, Ntalasha Chisha. We'll go on a short break and we'll be back after this. Stay tuned.
masenza bwanji tungende sakho na iwe pali pako ma 20 apolo ma 5 kajali
mama koino sachinjira kumuzonda
makoino songachinjeko kubantu abane ngiyotopana na 5 hours pamene pano leyo
kamba naye.
That is why you need to get an e-token, sir. It is faster and easier.
what?
The e-tolling card is a National Road Fund agency card. So all you have to do is just credit it in Ndalama and you'll be able to use it to get Monga Panuso. To avoid the inconveniences, so where you have to start looking for 20
Introducing the electronic toll card. It's easier, faster, and secure. Access the e-toll cards from all toll gates across the country or the agency's head office in Lusaka at only 30 kwacha.
This message is brought to you by the National Road Fund Agency, a sustainable road fund.
Welcome back. You are watching News Report with me, Salifyanji Bweupe, and if you're just joining us right now, we are having a very interesting interview with the Executive Director for Born Short Living Toll, that is Mr. Ntalasha Chisha. So before we went on a break, obviously we were talking about participation in voter registration. You have explained how you have been advocating for the different ables to also participate in the running towards the 2021 general elections as well. Now, where do you draw the line? When do you stop advocating and now start getting to action?
I would say advocating stops at a point when a particular thing you have been crying out for is implemented.
Right.
That is where advocating stops. That is why we had some few meetings with secretary generals of political parties.
Right.
To those that we could not meet, we had put it in writing, trying to propose what we felt was the best way in which people with disabilities could be incorporated. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then we go back to free education. You've already explained that and how probably it will benefit the individuals as well. Now, what is the main, outcry of people living with disabilities as well? And that's not just limiting it to Lusaka, but the rest of the country as well. How do you identify people in other areas as well and draw them closer to join the organization as well? And do people have to register to join?
Well, definitely they have to register because they have to show an interest.
Right.
What I would say is, the way we think as individuals, we are limited to the picture that is drawn before us, to the picture that has been given unto us. So when you ask somebody who is disabled, because we have been doing, for Lusaka we've done a very good job because we've been doing advocacy, we've been doing some trainings for people that are living with disabilities as well as women and youths, trying to see how best we can empower them. Now, whenever you are speaking to them, the picture that they have is they need empowerment. So the first thing that they will say is, we need money for businesses. The second thing that they'll complain about is, for the past 2 months, I've not received anything in relation to social cash transfer. So those are basically their needs. So as an organization, what we've been trying to show them is a different picture, where we've been saying the kind of empowerment that you've been receiving over the years, as good as it may be, to help you go as far as you can go, is not the right kind of empowerment that you need. So we have been trying to bring them together, explain to them that the right kind of empowerment that is needed is something that will remain permanent, something that they will use on their own, they will become economically independent, and they won't be able to rely on anyone for whatever they have to do in order for their lives to progress.
Right. Okay, so apart from just advocating, ministries or organizations, how has the response been also with schools, going around in schools as well?
Well, the response has been good. Only that this year we have not done much because of COVID-19, and then due also to the restrictions and how best we can try to organize and bring people who are living with disabilities together. Right. So we've not done much this year, but the past 3 years we have made tremendous progress, and it has been awesome because through the trainings that we've been able to conduct, we've been doing data research so that we understand the real issues and problems that they are facing. And I can announce here, Salifyanji, that the progress that our organization will make, especially coming 2021, will be massive because now we understand what people living with disabilities, what young people, what women are going through. For instance, there was an issue in relation to the youths that was where youths went to the streets in the bush to complain about issues of empowerment, to complain also about jobs being created for them. But all these things, when you look at them, the question that begs for answers is, what solutions are on the table? What solutions that are there in order to help them? And as an organization, we've been using the data that we've been collecting to see how best youths can be helped. So it's not just about this empowerment handouts where somebody puts up a proposal. Sometimes government would say, we won't give you money, we'll buy equipment for that particular proposal because people would misappropriate that money and take it elsewhere. So this should not just be limited to the empowerment funds that are received by youths, by disability organization. This should go as far as creating something that is viable. For instance, we wrote to the Ministry of Youth, and we were advocating that when you look at Africa, we never performed well with the Millennium Development Goals. And now we are in a period or a season of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are the SDGs. Now, the SDGs stipulate the common problems that is faced by developing countries. So we are saying that that is an easy platform for these youths that are requesting for funds to study the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and write projects in relation to 17 Sustainable Development Goals and see now how manufacturing companies can be created out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Now we only have 10 provinces in Zambia. So if each province prioritizes one SDG, we are talking almost about having at least a minimum of 10 viable industrial plants in this nation. And that's the empowerment that is needed, because it's not just about employing one individual or employing a particular family. We are talking about employing people in millions.
But young people have over the years been submitting ideas. But do you think the government really takes any of those, ideas that are submitted seriously? Do you think they implement on them?
The question,
they are thrown.
The thing is not, for me,
we're not trying to discriminate between, the different abled and the abled, but just a level playing ground.
Yes. No, the thing is, how many of those ideas have worked? Those are the questions that we need to ask.
Exactly.
How many people have been employed as a result of those ideas?
Right.
How many of those ideas have been sustainable?
Right.
Now, the issue of the fact is any company that you see, any organization that you hear of, even any government, their particular role is to solve the problems that are affecting the people. So if we talk about the proposals submitted, what problems are those particular? Because the relevance of any proposal is what difference is it going to make in the lives of people. That is why we are saying that unless there is a proper system in which even these empowerment funds are dispersed, we'll be giving out empowerment funds until Jesus Christ comes and nothing will be done.
Exactly.
Yes, because every proposal that is written must be viable and must address the needs and challenges that are in that particular community. Every business is solving a certain problem. That is it. Yes. So if that business is not addressing that, then why should you fund it? And then you find that there is also no capacity building in the people that are given. So you receive funds, you don't know anything about financial management. The first proposal that you are even taking to the minister was not written by you. You had to hire somebody to write a proposal. You don't even understand the nitty-gritties of that particular problem.
That's
so organizations like ours, government like ours, should come on the ground, see the problems that are affecting people, and try to sort out one or two problems.
Right. So before we conclude, I have two questions that you probably answer. We need to answer in one sentence.
One sentence.
Imagine. So when it comes to mental health and differently abled people, is that one thing that your organization looks at as well? And also, do you feel isolating or having special schools and not having the differently abled people combined with the abled people will help those that are not in the shoes understand the challenges that they face?
It's a two-way thing.
Yes.
Having the differently abled at the same school with the abled, there's no problem. If, for instance, the infrastructure there, the equipment that is there is able to help the people that are differently able.
Right.
The challenge that we have is there is this colleague of mine who is the member of an organization from Southern Province who complained bitterly the struggles that she had for her to complete a degree at the University of Zambia because the infrastructure there is not disability friendly. Yeah. Then when you talk about mental health, is each disability should not be treated in a collective manner. It should be taken as it is specifically and find solutions to it. So it's just asking questions of how many mental facilities do we have in the nation. That's why we see that most people with mental disability just roam around the streets. It's because there is no infrastructure that has been built or created to ensure that they are accommodated and they are taken care of.
Okay. So I would like to thank you on behalf of Live TV for coming through and joining us on News Report this evening.
Yes.
So I wish you well, and we look forward to having you next time.
Thank you very much. I think next time, as you have us, some of the things that we've been advocating for are things that we'll begin implementing as an organization.
Right. Okay.
So look forward for BSLT building a disability school.
Exactly.
It's free for people living with disabilities.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that was the Executive Director for Born Short Living Told, Mr. Ntalasha Chisha, who was joining us this evening for News Report. So we are going on a break and we'll come back after this. Stay tuned.
Masenza bwanji tungiyendesa khona iwe pali pako ma 20 apolo ma 5 kwajali
mama koino sasinjira kumuzo ndama
makwayonso songathinjeko kubantu abane ngiyochophala 5 hours pamene bano leyo
kamba naye.
That is why you need to get an e-token, sir. It is faster and easier.
The e-tolling card is a National Road Fund agency card. So all you have to do is just credit it in Ndalama and you'll be able to use it to get Monga Panuso. To avoid the inconveniences, so where you have to start looking for 20
Introducing the electronic toll card. It's easier, faster, and secure. Access the e-toll cards from all toll gates across the country or the agency's head office in Lusaka at only 30 kwacha.
This message is brought to you by the National Road Fund Agency, a sustainable road fund.
Mulibwanji tati.
Bwino masebenza bwanji mama. Tungende sako na iwe. Pali pako ma 20 apolo ma 5 kwa jari 4.
Makoino sachinjira kumuzonda
Makoino sochi. Songa chinjeko ku bantu abale ndio top kana 5 hours pamene pano leyo.
kamba naye.
That is why you need to get an e-token, sir. It is faster and easier.
What?
The e-tolling card Balela is a National Road Fund agency card. So all you have to do is just credit it in Ndalama and you'll be able to use it patoke Monga Panusu. To avoid the inconveniences quarter, so you have to start looking for 20 kwa chakula cherusha bantu so.
Introducing the electronic toll card. It's easier, faster, and secure. Access the e-toll cards from all toll gates across the country or the agency's head office in Lusaka at only 30 kwacha.
This message is brought to you by the National Road Fund Agency, a sustainable road fund.
Mulibwanji tati.
Bwino masebenza bwanji mama. Tungende sako na iwe. Pali pako ma 20 apolo ma 5 kwa jari 4.
Makoino sachinjira kumuzonda
Makoino sochi. Songa chinjeko ku bantu abale ndio top kana 5 hours pamene pano leyo.
kamba naye.
That is why you need to get an e-token, sir. It is faster and easier.
What?
The e-tolling card Balela is a National Road Fund agency card. So all you have to do is just credit it in Ndalama and you'll be able to use it patoke Monga Panusu. To avoid the inconveniences quarter, so you have to start looking for 20 kwa chakula cherusha bantu so.
Introducing the electronic toll card. It's easier, faster, and secure. Access the e-toll cards from all toll gates across the country or the agency's head office in Lusaka at only 30 kwacha.
This message is brought to you by the National Road Fund Agency, a sustainable road fund.
Welcome back. You are watching News Report with me, Salifyanji Bweupe and Chimwanga Kalala. And so to continue with the news, there's been a recent strike by the truck drivers.
All right, yeah, so for a long time now, truck drivers in the country have continued to work under harsh conditions. Yeah, so some truck drivers around the country were calling quits and decided to hold a sit-in strike where they were not transporting goods, so they were just like parked. And then so from this, there's an issue that arises that some people were not up for that idea of having a strike, so it wasn't backed by the official Truck Drivers Association.
Right, yes.
Yeah, but some drivers decided to hold that strike. And then this, what was happening is that they were harassing some other drivers who chose to not be part of that strike. Yeah. So there was an issue there. Government had to step in. We've seen the Minister of Transport and Communication, Mtutu Kafaya, actually going on the ground to see what was transpiring.
Right.
Yeah. So as a result of this, we've begun to see things like we've heard reports of fuel shortages and the like. Yeah. So the Consumer Unity and Trust Society, CATS Lusaka, has urged truck drivers to desist from harassing fellow drivers and threatening to bed down goods in in transit in protest for better conditions of service. Yeah.
Right.
So this is an organization that is calling from truck drivers to desist from harassing their fellow drivers in protest. Yeah.
What people need to understand, first of all, is when it comes to like truck drivers, it's not like they're employed by the government. No, they're not. Most of them are, work under individuals or independent entities, private organizations as well. And so to harass your fellow man that is trying to earn a living and is not really, yes, it might seem unfair with what he's getting, but at the end of the day, he still wants to make something to fend for his family as well, because in as much as he's not getting what he would want to get, at least he's making a little something, and he's able to fend for himself and the family as well. Now, on the other side of things as well, when it comes to like the employers, I hear that this has been a cry, I think, for over 5 years now. The truck drivers have been crying, for this issue to actually be addressed, of which it hasn't been addressed. But what a day, what a time to actually strike. First of all, we had the COVID, and we're still living in the COVID-19 pandemic, and then obviously a lot of businesses were affected as well in that regard. Now, if there's a shortage of fuel, you know that some filling stations might choose to hike the price, because that is one thing that would affect every single citizen of the country as well. And so I do feel that the truck drivers that are harassing other truck drivers should actually desist and just find a way in which they could talk about this matter amicably to find a lasting solution. Yeah,
so I totally agree with you. From the stories that I've heard, truck drivers get paid as little as $100. That's just basic pay.
Right.
Yeah, so that equates to about 2,000. Yeah, with the current exchange rate, and I believe with this stiff economy and just everything being expensive, I believe it's hard to survive on that. You'd understand the struggle these drivers are going through when it comes to financing.
There's rent, there's food, there's everything, school fees that they need to probably settle for their children or family, and that's really not enough.
Exactly, and that coupled as well with the danger that comes with the particular job. As you've heard some people say that the road is treacherous and you never know what might happen on one of these trips. So I believe they really deserve better pay and just better conditions of service. But then just harassing their fellow drivers who are not part of the strike isn't the right thing to do.
Exactly.
So as we've seen now from CATS, what they're saying is that this stopping of these drivers, the movement of goods, will have several implications and might just lead to further diminishing or undermining the growth of the economy as well. So we've already taken a hard hit from COVID-19 when it comes to the economy. So just this restriction of the movement of goods will pose as a great challenge if it continues. So CATS has urged governments to pay listening ear and see how they can help these truck drivers mitigate some of these issues that are being raised. Yeah, so the organization has observed that most of the Zambia, for the most part, relies on imports, and then if there's no movement from the trucks, I think that's
holds everything.
Yeah, definitely, and we are yet to see maybe an increase in prices, shortages, and just like scarcity obviously goes hand in hand with an increase in prices. So quite unfortunate that.
That's true. I do believe we have a clip.
Yeah, we have a clip of some truck drivers harassing some fellow truck drivers.
Mulomfwanga tulelanda. Mulomfwanga tulelanda.
Batumalisha 2 months from Dala tulelanda. Manje nga tumitava opo amatanga mwana mkambotia hii kama open waenda shani so mnapanga chencharo chani akamba remember you came from open kuti mwenze tanga you came from open amene ambera famene kutikamba Wambera. Remember naife. Pama license naife tena ma GD. Slotin before pusa pametenda sama open fair. Wambera. Sala ikira maybe kapena titanka shani. Asa ikira bonse. Sala anaanza fora hiyo ndiye anaanza fora 9. Sasa ufanyia mli wa mtanka. Onanya mnaposa ufa mtanka.
So, boy, Susie, I was trying to cheat out in Zambia.
So that's a clip showing the harassment of truck drivers by fellow truck drivers as well, which is very, very, very sad. Imagine seeing your father or uncle begging like that. It's very, very unfortunate. And so into our next story, Pope endorses same-sex civil unions. The leader of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Francis, has endorsed same-sex civil unions for the first time. Pope Francis made the comments in a documentary which premiered at a Rome Film Festival, saying he supported the right of same-sex couples to have a family. The Pope's comments are a radical departure from those of his predecessors. Al Jazeera has this report.
About an hour into a new documentary film about the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Francis appears to go off the official script, explicitly calling for same-sex couples to be given legal protections because he says all children of God have a right to a family. The statement of support for civil unions is a major departure from official church teachings and from the views of his predecessor Benedict XVI, who called homosexuality an intrinsic moral evil.
I think it will be received in very different ways in different countries. It will be accepted as finally something that has happened finally in most European countries. It will be received in a very difficult way in the United States. It's an open question how it will be received in the churches in Africa, Asia, because it all depends from national legislations on same-sex marriages that vary widely.
In a time where so many people are divided about the world's problems and who's causing them, Pope Francis appears determined to take the church out of the culture wars and away from divisive social issues. But for some in his native Argentina, the move doesn't go far enough.
With this recognition from Pope Francis that our couples are also families, that gays, lesbians, bisexuals and trans people have rights to form a family, we're taking a step forward, especially for LGBT people of faith. But when he says that we have to recognize their rights of civil union, that's where we say it's progress, but not so much.
This is a man who's opened his heart to the heart.
Progress takes time in a church that's so old. For many, this message of togetherness and inclusivity is just what the times require. Andrew Chappelle, Al Jazeera.
To me, that feels like opening up a Pandora's box.
Exactly, although I believe it's his personal opinion and not the position of the church, but I believe I don't know.
But doesn't he make up most of the church?
I don't know.
He's the overseer, so obviously whatever, his beliefs might be, could just, other people might relate to that and feel, oh, now this is our time to actually also come out as well.
Yeah, I actually read an interesting article by the Zambian ambassador to Ethiopia, Emmanuel Mwamba, where he actually alleged that it's more about hating the sin rather than the sinner. So, yeah, you hate what these people are doing, but you don't hate them as people. Yeah.
So you allow them to be themselves?
Yeah, I think it becomes kind of difficult to handle these situations when the person isn't even trying to rationalize it. No, this is right. They know it's wrong, but then they say, this is a person I love, so what do I do? So it's kind of difficult. As you said, it's a Pandora's box.
I will keep the comments to myself. So on that note, we have come to the end of tonight's episode of News Report. We would like to thank our guest that came onto the show. That is Mr. Ntalasha Chisha from Born Short Living Tour. And on behalf of the entire production crew, this has been Salifyanji Bweupe and Chimwanga Kalala saying good night. And God bless and stay tuned. Continue watching Live TV.